You're all warmly welcome to Joshua Okwuwe online maths class. Once again, I'm so happy to see that you make a time to watch our videos. In our class today, we will be talking about index notation. In our previous class, we mentioned the first 4 laws of indices and we explained them, showing us how to apply them in answering questions either in test or in exam. Today we'll be looking at the remaining laws of indices and how to apply them in answering questions also. So to enjoy this video, to benefit and understand it very well, I encourage you to please watch this video from beginning to the end. The first law that I will be considering today is called the negative index. It's called the negative index negative index. What do you mean by negative index? When you say negative index, from the name negative, minus, negative index, negative index. Negative index, what does it mean? It says that if a base, for instance A, is raised to a negative x, like you see, this is it, negative index. This x is an index, but what kind of index is this? Is a negative index. Negative index law states that if you are having a base that is raised to a negative index like this, that this is the same thing as saying 1 over the base raised to the positive index of it. So 1 over a, that is the base, raised to what? Raised to the positive index. What does that mean? For instance, in exam, you have a question like that says, simplify. Simplify, let's say you have something like 2 raised to the power of minus 5. 2 raised to the power of minus 5. Applying this law, it says that this is the same thing as saying 1 over 2 raised to the power of 5. Which is the same thing as 1 over 2 raised to the power of 5 is what? That means 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, 2 in 5 places. Okay, so we multiply 2 times 2 is 4. So let's break this down so that some of us will understand. This thing is saying 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is saying 1 over. Now let's do it together. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 16 times 2 is what? 32. So this is your answer, 1 over 32. So this is how we apply this law in answering questions in indices. The next law that we'll be talking about now is the one that is called the zero index. The zero index. The next law now is what? Zero index. What does that mean? Zero index. What is zero index? What does that mean? This law states that when you raise any base to 0, that your answer is 1. I remember I mentioned this in one of our videos that when you raise anything to the power of 0, the answer is 1. How do we come about that? This law helps us to understand that clearly when they say negative zero index. How do we arrive at that? It states that this law says that if I'm having a power like this, a raised to the power of, let's say, x, like this, or a raised to the power of, a raised to the power of 0, that this is equals to what? 1. That a raised to the power of 0 is equals to 1. How true is this? How true is this? We'll prove it now. Let's say, for instance, you have a question like this that says, simplify. Simplify. Let's say we have x raised to the power of 3, okay, divided by x raised to the power of 3. You remember in one of our law, the division law that we mentioned in our previous video states that when you have this, that this is the same thing as saying x raised to the power of what? 3 minus 3, which is the same thing as what? S raised to the power of what? 0. But how now will I know that, oh, this is 1? Now let's follow through and see what I'm going to do here. Just have this in mind. Now let's come down here. This same work you are seeing here is the same thing as saying s raised to the power of 3 divided by s raised to the power of 3. Isn't it? This is divided. So this line means what? Division. Now this is same as s raised to the power of 3 means you should multiply x in 3 places. This means x times x times x over x times x times x in 3 places. So now let's divide now. So s go with s 1, s here 1, s here 1, x here this is times x here 1, x here 1, x here 1, x here 1, this is times. Okay, so it's x times x times x over x times x times x. That means x in 3 places. Now this is 1. Everything here, 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 1 times 1 is what? Is 1. 1 divided by 1 is equals to what? 1. Therefore, we can conclude that x raised to the power of 0 is equals to what? Is equals to 1. So that is what it means. This is how we arrived at that law. That when you hear people say that anything raised to the power of 0 is equals to 1. This is it. Applying the division law, we'll be able to do what? Do that just like what we have done here. Okay. So the next one we'll be talking about now is the third one now in our lesson today, which is called the root power. Root power. Root power. The root power law. The root power law says that if I have a base that is raised to a negative, that is raised to half, like this 1 over 2, that this is the same thing as what? The square root of a. The square root of a. In fact, I usually explain this root power with the last law in the law of indices, which is the fractional index. It's called a fractional index, or the fraction of the fractional power. What does it mean? This thing you are seeing here means that what? When you have two like this is a square. You take the square of what you are having in the base of the power, then you multiply it by what? By 1. So, but when you just have 1 over 2 like this, simple, without you going through that stress, just know that this is what? Root a. So by the time we take the next law now, you see clearly the relationship between the root power and the fractional index, or the fractional power law. So how do we apply this in answering questions? For instance, you have a question like this in exam that says simplify, maybe let's say maybe you have like 16 raised to the power of 1 over 2. 16 raised to the power of 1 over 2. Applying the power law, this is same as saying what? Root 16. And square root of 16 is what? Is 4. As simple as ABCD. Very simple. Now the last law that we'll be talking about is called the fractional index. Fractional index. It's called fractional index or fractional power. What does this law state? The fractional index or the fractional power states that when you have a base, now let me use another number. Now let's say b. You have a base b that is raised to a fraction. Let's say 2 over 3. That means b raised to the power of 2 over 3. This is what? A fractional index, or called fractional power. What does this law state? It states that you should do this, take the cube root of whatever you are having in the denominator of the power. It can be like 3 now, or it can be 4 or 5. But since you're having this now, that means cube. So you're taking the cube root of B. You will multiply everything here by what? By 2. So if it is 5, you are going to take the fifth root of B also. If it is 7, you are going to take the seventh root of B. Everything in bracket multiplied by whatever you are having in the numerator, which can be 3, can be 5, can be 9, can be whatever. But whatever it is, the law states that what you are having here, just take the root of the base and then multiply everything you're having there by what you have in the numerator of the base. So we're going to take a question now to show how we apply this in answering questions. For instance, you have a question like this: simplify. Simplify, what number will I choose now? Let's say 8. 8 raised to the power of, let's say 2/3, just like what we're having here. Remember what I told you, it can be 3/5. It can be 7/11, whatever it is. But the bottom line is, take the root of whatever you are having. It can be the square root, it can be the cube root, it can be the fourth root, fifth root, seventh root. So now applying that now, this is the same thing as telling us to do what? Take the cube root of 8, multiply our answer by 2. Now what is the meaning of cube root? Or what is the meaning of fourth root or fifth root? When you see something like this, it means they're asking you what number will multiply itself 3 times to give you what you are having inside the root. Now this is 8. One number will multiply itself 3 times to give me 8. The number that easily comes to my mind is 2. 2 raised to the power of 2. So 2 raised to the power of 2 means 2 times 2, which is what? 4. So this is how you apply this. Remember, sometimes you can have something like, you can have 32 raised to the power of, it can be 3/4. Whatever it is, all they're asking you, just take this. 32. Find the root. Ask yourself, one number will multiply itself 4 times to give you what you're having inside the bracket. Okay, whatever it is, just know that you're expected to take the what? The root of the base, multiply it by what? By the power. Now the root is based on whatever number that you have there. If it is 3, that means you're taking the cube root. If it is 4, it means you're taking the fourth root. If it is 6, it means you're going to find the sixth root. And what is the meaning of that sixth root? It simply means what number will multiply itself 6 times to give you what you are having inside the bracket. So please bear that in mind as you answer questions under the laws of indices. We have so many questions. You can pick up past questions and try out these questions and try out what we have just learned today. If you encounter any problem, please let me know. Or if there's anyone among these laws that you do not understand, feel free to drop your comment in the comment section. And not only that, don't forget to share this video and like it. If you have not subscribed to our channel, please subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification button so that whenever we upload new videos on our channel like this, you get a notification. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you all so much. Bye-bye.